And we go now to Mr. Cleary, up to 5 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you to the witnesses. My questions are for Ms. Payne. Ms. Payne, Justice Robert Wells appeared before this committee last week, and one of the questions that I asked him was whether or not the Canada Newfoundland Labrador Offshore Petroleum Board or the Canada Nova Scotia Offshore Petroleum Board could be seen in a potential conflict of interest because it's responsible for overseeing the environment, industry regulation, and health and safety. And his exact response was, it could. You also mentioned in your presentation a potential conflict, so I want you to comment on that. But also, I've got a Part B to this question. In Recommendation 29 from Justice Wells' report, Part A is very well known in terms of an independent offshore safety regulator, but there's also Part B. And the Part B talks about the creation of a separate and autonomous safety division for the CNLOPB with a separate budget, a separate leadership, and an organizational structure designed to deal only with safety matters. Are you satisfied, this Part B to the question, are you satisfied that A or B has been followed through on in Recommendation 29?
No. B would be better than nothing, but A should be the standard that we're trying to reach. If you look at even the CNLOPB's organizational chart as it still stands on their website, it's very clear that the CEO, the safety officer, is under the CEO. And I think I'll use an example of why I think this is problematic. When in the annual report following the crash of 2009, the then CEO of the offshore oil regulator, in his annual report, this is after we had this horrific loss of life. His message in that report was about how well industry was doing, that it was a banner year economically in Newfoundland and Labrador. It was also a year in which people died in a crash, and yet that was secondary in this message in this annual report. And I think that says it all about when you have production and economic decisions and safety under the same roof with the same people making the same decisions. I firmly believe, as in Australia, the UK, and Norway, that these must be separated. And this is a very long discussion that we've been having since Justice Cullen, and yet in Canada we still have not done this.
Another question, Ms. Payne. You mentioned the July 2011 incident, and the severity of that incident wasn't reported for 2 years. The helicopter went down. It came within 38 feet of crashing into the water. It fell 152 meters, I believe, in 32 seconds. What would have been different? What would have been different if that incident happened at night? And this has to do with the debate about night flights.
Right. So two things with that, and I think this also speaks to why we still have challenges, okay, with the regulator. Neither the regulator nor the oil operators expressed the severity of this incident. It was a couple of words when it happened. It didn't seem like it was a big deal. And they felt that they had done their job by reporting it to the TSB. And yet, we had just finished a commission of inquiry that said we must be improving communications at all levels, and that still had not occurred. I'm sorry, what was the rest of that question? Oh, yes, the issue of night flights. At the same time that this was happening, we have had a helicopter safety committee looking at Recommendation 12, which is the mandate that was given to this safety committee was not exactly what Commissioner Wells intended in his report. And we are now having a debate in our province about whether or not we should be returning to night flights. We are opposed to them. We think that they are riskier. We don't think that enough improvements have been made, and we're still dealing with a helicopter.
Ms. Payne, sorry to interrupt, but
yeah.
if that incident had it happened at night, that July 2011 incident had happened in the dark,
right,
would it have been a different outcome?
It would have hit the water because they wouldn't have been able to see. The only reason that the pilot was able to self-correct was that within, just feet of hitting the ocean, suddenly they came out of the fog and he could see that they were 30 feet from the ocean. At night, that would not have occurred.
Justice Robert Wells, he mentioned when he was giving testimony last week, he outlined all the different improvements in health and safety and equipment aboard these helicopters. Have advancements been made in the helicopters and the health and safety equipment aboard these helicopters to make a difference between day flights and night flights, though?
We still only have a helicopter that has 11-minute run dry capability. We still, to this point of how much you don't need regulation because people should be doing things on their own. We were 10 years trying to get underwater breathing apparatuses equipped with, or the workers to be equipped with them. That was not done until 17 people lost their lives. So it seems to me that it ends up being this disaster-driven situation where people have to die before things are taken seriously. There have been improvements in the offshore. How could there not have been with the focus and the attention that we have had on offshore safety? Are we where we need to be? Absolutely not.
Thank you, Mr. Cleary.